Paul and James. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Very good.
Yeah.
Very well. Thank you very much. Yourself?
Yeah, very good.
Good.
So how is this AWS Summit so far?
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I was just on a panel, so that was interesting.
How did it go?
I thought it went well. Yeah,
Yeah?
It was good.
What was the topic?
What was it? Going from prototype to production in the startup area. And then
Okay.
we had another startup there called Jack and Jill, and we had a guy from Anthropic on the panel as well.
What is Anthropic?
Yeah, never heard of them.
No. Okay. Cool. What about you? What have you done so far?
A couple of talks on a variety of different things. This is my third summit I've come to, so starting to get the hang of it a little bit, being a
Okay.
bit tactical about getting there nice and early. But some really interesting stuff about multi-tenant agents, particularly, and the sort of authentication and permissions. Lots to learn and lots to apply from that as well.
Okay. Cool. Have you been to reInvent? So
I've
far?
not, no.
No. What are you
No.
doing? I mean, you need to get them to reInvent, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So book your ticket for November, right?
Yep.
Very nice.
Exciting.
Will do.
I'm there.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Exciting. So let's start with the introduction. So Paul, would you mind?
Yeah, so Paul Solomon, I'm the head of AI engineering at Xelix. So our team, basically anything involving AI, machine learning, algorithms, we're on the platform, the Xelix platform, which we can get into.
Yeah.
We're building it, monitoring it, improving it, developing it, just looking after it. And then
Perfect.
James?
Yeah, I'm James Price Farr. I'm AI engineering team lead. I've been at Xelix for 5 years now, just gone past that mark. So yeah, a bit of an old timer in startup world. So obviously work under Paul, work with the team on building anything and everything AI related.
Perfect. Great. And so what about Xelix? What is Xelix?
Yeah, it's Xelix Enterprise SaaS. So we're selling to large enterprises typically, and the teams that we're serving are the accounts payable teams, basically. So they're the people that are paying the bills. So it's like a back office function, and they're doing various things. They're making sure that they're handling all the invoices correctly, processing documents, handling inquiries from suppliers. There's lots of things that they need to do.
Okay.
Supporting those.
Okay. And what is the need of AI in this space then?
Yeah, it's quite interesting because we span sort of what I would call the pre-LLM and post-LLM periods. So before, it was really around, they had lots of tabular data, lots of invoice data, and it was finding the problems, really finding the issues. And that means finding duplicates and finding errors with it, basically stuff that they could have paid without paying. So that's like a tangible cost.
Okay.
And that's a lot of cost. And previously, well, even now, like you would have audit firms that will come in periodically and check everything and find the problems. Whereas we came in with the idea of using machine learning to run that daily, right?
Okay.
So pick up those issues as they come, pick them up before it gets paid. So yeah, that's what. And then from there, we've kind of moved into more of the post LLM space, although using lots of different technologies, but broadly doing like document processing runs, and also managing inquiries from their suppliers. So, their suppliers are often emailing them, why haven't I been paid? What's going on here? And so we've got an agentic system basically that can handle those and make those teams more efficient.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. So kind of a proxy also between the accountants, the account team, and that are in charge of paying the suppliers.
Yeah.
And the suppliers themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And they've always done that through email. And they, could continue to do that. So we basically build an entire email client, hooks up to their mailboxes,
Okay.
and then it's a ticketing system really. Email comes in, create a ticket, run some actions, and then at some point probably respond back to the supplier. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Totally. Okay. So now let's dive deeper into what you have built and how it works and under the hood. What have you built?
Yeah.
And how?
Yeah, we built a lot.
Yeah. I bet.
There's a lot of different technologies involved. I think first and foremost, sort of technologically speaking, we're very pragmatic is the way I'd describe this. So there's whichever part of our product that we're looking to build for, we're looking to improve on, whether it's a rules-based system, a traditional machine learning, or an agentic system, whatever works best, that's what we go with.
Okay.
as Paul said, a lot of the like tabular data, the more traditional side of things, that more traditional machine learning, traditional AI works really, really well. Whereas as soon as we've gone into emails and unstructured data and documents, LLMs were an absolute godsend for that, transformed it completely.
Yeah.
And now the agentic side of things, it takes it to another level.
Good. Okay. So so you started with SageMaker for running the all the machine learning capabilities that you know.
Yeah, actually, no. I mean, maybe you can explain it better, actually, James. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even simpler than that, the models we were using were so lightweight and small that we kind of just hacked it together a bit ourselves.
Okay.
This was very early days of being a tiny, tiny company, and we just did things super simply. SageMaker was the next big step, I think. So certainly once we got to handling email data and running our sort of proprietary models on email data, these are still, more traditional models, not LLMs. Then we needed SageMaker for that scale and for the size of the models and both the volume of data coming in as well.
Okay.
So that was the next progression of going from, as I said, quite a hack together startup way to actually having a sort of more mature product that can scale properly and is properly managed, version deployed, all that kind of thing.
Okay. And what was the trigger to move to the next phase then? Was the LLMs or because you could run LLMs on SageMaker?
Yeah, I think going to LLMs, obviously it was something we'd all been aware of, sort of the development of this technology.
Yeah.
I think we were trying to work out the best ways to make use of it in our platform. So the way we introduced it into our product was tentative is maybe too strong a word, but we wanted to try it out, see how well it worked, particularly see how it scaled.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to throw this thing in, running it, sort of building it as a core part of your architecture from day one, and then find out, oh yeah, the queuing system doesn't work. We ran out of tokens, all of that stuff. So really we introduced it into a relatively small part of our product, using Bedrock for the LLMs. And particularly using it in an on-demand way. So really we could sort of turn it on or off for particular customers, particular users, just using it here and there to test out how it works, and then scale it up from there.
Okay. Cool. All right. So any changes that you faced along the way?
Yeah, I mean, lots of challenges, over the time. I mean, actually working with LLMs and the models, I think has been relatively smooth. But I mean, the nice thing about using the kind of on-demand approach is that it can scale quite well with the sort of demands that you've got. We did like hit some quotas, I think, early on, and then we were able to kind of like increase those over time. So that hasn't been an issue. Like I would say the bigger issues is the entire system, right? Like the models, they're just one little component in there, but we've actually built an email client. And then, on top of that, you've got complex workflows. So you've got multi-step workflows. And then as you scale up with, LLM elements, with machine learning elements, as you scale that up, it gets harder and harder to do all the orchestration. So we've had challenges with that, actually, to be honest. And a big part of the effort has been trying to like get that working better.
Why do you think you had those problems with workflows? I mean, because they are too long, because the LLM is losing track, or because what are the changes? Because it's because you tried to build a kind of. I had a conversation earlier with a former colleague of mine. We were discussing about the monolithic approach in AI.
Yeah.
And how to think into microservices as well, and from an agentic perspective. So is that the type of
because it's a sort of what we got, a modular monolith that we've got. So the challenges really was I think you could talk to it better, James, probably, but the technologies we were using. So we were using an orchestration sort of system that wasn't quite suited to the kind of flows that we had, which was Celery, I think, and we still kind of use it. And then we moved to a different one, which is Prefect. So part of it was technology. I don't know if that detail.
I think as we've grown the product and added more and more capabilities, it's mostly about trying to treat it as a sort of coherent single product, a coherent single flow, rather than as isolated uses of LLMs. And that's part of the issue we had, that you would have parts of the pipeline maybe failing, and then, as Paul said, some of these orchestration systems not retrying in the right way, all of that kind of thing. but also from, I guess, more of an AI perspective, like the intelligence and I guess the state of this flow not being passed in quite the right way between different steps. Maybe some bits of context were being missed out along the way, and it's quite hard to keep track of that. So I think that's kind of what we started to address more recently, and definitely going forwards, that will be the main thing, kind of treating it more as a whole flow. I guess fits in nicely with an agentic system, but
Yes.
there's always the balance of how much independence does it need, how much control do you want, and trying to get that right middle ground is kind of the main challenge, I think.
And do you have human in the loop type of requirements as well?
For the product itself,
Yeah.
I would say it's human in the loop by default.
Okay.
And that's kind of the way we've gone with it. So the email example is simple. At any time there's a response that's been generated, a human needs to review it to send it. That being said, we have now just started doing sort of what we call, I think we call it touchless. So on one of our modules, which is a document processing module, there's now an option for customers to turn on full automation, which basically the email comes in with this kind of document requirement. All the processing gets done. Assuming it all goes through successfully, it then produces a report, adds it to an email queue, and then the user can or can maybe not review that before it gets sent out on a schedule. So we're now building on that, and part of that is building the confidence with customers in the system so that they feel comfortable switching that on. And then also it's like giving them that option if they want it. Some customers are quite conservative; they don't want to do that at all. Others do want to do it. So we started with that document processing, and now we're also looking at that for the responding to queries from suppliers. We're going to add that as another kind of touchless process. And that's what the customers, at least the senior managers and stuff, that's what they want. They want to be able to justify their investment by saying, look, we're now 50% of these cases are completely dealt with automatically. So it's an important part of the roadmap.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. And how many customers do you have? I mean, to give us a scale.
150,
Under
I
50?
think. Yeah, about 150.
Okay.
We've been roughly doubling every year.
And in terms of number of transactions that you have to handle?
It's a lot of, put it this way, some customers have in millions of invoices.
Wow.
So when we're doing those kind of invoice checking processes, it's a lot of data.
Okay.
Millions per year, I should say.
Okay.
And then on the emails, I don't know the numbers, but it's like, their inboxes are pretty full up. They're getting a lot of queries in from customers. So, it's decent scale.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's super helpful to get some sense of the scale that you're operating at. So, wow, that's pretty cool. So, okay. So, let's take a step back. So you started small with small agents running maybe on instances or bare metal, whatever you had at the time. Then you moved to SageMaker, and you moved to Bedrock for some processing. And so you talk about agentic applications. So I think you are using Strands agents, right?
We are, yes. Yeah, we've been doing a lot of experimenting, and there's elements of it live already, and more to come, definitely.
Okay, so what are you doing with agents, with Strands agents?
Yeah, so one of the key things is part of what Paul mentioned about responding to emails. Some kind of emails, it's relatively straightforward to write a response. It's quite formulaic almost. But lots of other ones, there's a sort of very long tail of edge cases and strange questions that get asked. And they're so variable, so flexible. They need different pieces of information to answer them. It's perfect for an agentic system. And so we're starting off with, dealing with some of those cases with an agentic system. And then gradually we're going to build in more sort of tools that it can use, more document sources, knowledge bases, all of those kind of things to give it what it needs to answer then that full long tail of strange email queries.
Okay.
It really fits a gap. So we've got like this, I almost see 3 tiers of automation with how you deal, let's say, with an email. You've got like a rules-based trigger. We do.
Yeah.
You've got a single LLM call, where you kind of construct this workflow, get all the information, pass it in to an LLM and get a response. And then we can have degrees of customization on that by allowing the customer to specify sections of the prompt that say, do this, do that.
Okay.
And then the third tier is like that next level of complication where it can't just do that in one LLM call. It needs to go and get some information from the database, cross-reference it against something else, go and check some document, and then go and do it. And you could build that as a engineered workflow, but it would be a different one for every single customer. So an agent is absolutely perfect to, have the agent, have your instructions, and have your subset of tools basically to go and do that customizable thing per customer.
Okay.
And we're launching the first one next month for one of our customers. So we're already kind of like getting that up and running.
But is it one agent or multi-agent?
It's one agent. It's doing a particular thing with one customer that's a bit more complicated. And we're just going to kind of build from there, basically. That's the idea.
Okay, cool. So, okay. Did you use a different agentic framework before Strands agents?
We've experimented with them, but not extensively, to be honest, no.
Okay. So what drove you to Strands agents? What is the one thing that you believe is interesting with Strands agents?
One thing.
Or it could be more, actually.
No, I mean, I think particularly maybe a year or so ago, it seemed like there were these new agentic frameworks popping up every other day.
Yeah.
Some of them great, some of them not so great. And I think for us, Strands got the right balance of sort of being dynamic and being developed very actively and being sort of fresh and a lot of energy around it, but also having a degree of formality in terms of good documentation, those kind of things that, it sounds little, but for developer experience, it's absolutely essential.
Yes.
And so, that balance really for us made it hit the sweet spot. Integrating with Bedrock was absolutely essential for us. Lots do, but obviously that's another plus point for Strands. That was the main motivation. And then, of course, like once you start experimenting with it, once you find out it works well, then you're away and you don't go back.
Okay.
It's worth noting that there was a AWS put on a build-a-thon they invited to us where we've built the first prototype with this. So that was an obvious choice from that point of view because we've got the expertise on hand to help us with it. The other thing, the agentic loop is, as a concept, it's not actually, that complicated. And I think it does it in a nice, clean way. And, it works really well.
Yeah. I think it's the model-centric approach of Strands, which is quite good compared to other frameworks like LangGraph, which is quite constrained in a way it works. So it's pretty good. Yeah. And are you using specific techniques to make sure that the agent is following your requirements or, the workflows as you have defined? I'm curious to understand it. Because one of the things that people would claim is LLMs are not deterministic. So how do you make sure that the LLM will follow, what you want to do for the agents?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think, it's a valid concern that people raise. You technically give it the same input, it can do different things. I think really it's a matter of like how you evaluate it. So really for us, one of the key sort of, I guess, milestones in my thinking about agents was building evaluation metrics based on which tools it's called. It sounds pretty simple, but until you start thinking about it, that was completely new to me. And really making sure that for certain types of tasks or for certain examples, it's using the right tools to pull in the right information it needs. Of course, you've then got to test that the output itself is bang on as well. But really, if it's not getting the tools, there's no chance it's going to get it right.
Okay. Yeah. So how do you do that in practice? How do you implement that?
In terms of monitoring the usage?
Or how do you do the evaluation?
Yeah, I mean, having well-organized, well-put together, well-sampled data sets offline, obviously. I think also important is like building the monitoring and the evaluation on live data from day one. There's such a temptation to try and build quickly, get it out there.
Yeah.
But for us, building all that logging and monitoring from day one is essential. So now we can track for each call exactly which tools were used, and then measure that against different email categories, and that's very specific to this email case. But we can sort of cross correlate which tools were called with other sort of pieces of metadata and make sure that stats are looking as we want them.
Okay, cool. My previous question was more about are you using or have you seen different results using techniques like steering files or SOPs, or have you looked into that?
Not particularly.
Yeah, good, probably. So because in the line of business that you are on, the fact that we are talking about money and finance, so payments. So you probably want to have the best outcome. So we back in November we released the Strange Agent SOPs, so the standard operational procedures that are basically a checklist for an agent to follow and are quite powerful. So it's part of the Strange Agent framework. So definitely good. But 2 weeks ago, one of our senior principal engineer, Claire Ligori. Do you know Claire? Claire is one of the mastermind behind Strange Agent. She published a blog on the Strange Agent website, so I'm going to put the link on the show notes. But basically, she ran some tests trying to drive outcomes with agents and using different techniques, so steering files and SOPs and there was a third one, and basically with the steering files, she really got 100% accuracy. And also because of using hooks together with the steering files. So
what is a steering file exactly?
So as part of the agentic of the Strange Agent framework, you can use additional files. Like you have skills on code that you have. You have also skills in Strange Agents. So the skills are giving specific powers to an agent, right? The steering files are more of the recipes that you want them to follow. And with this, we see that there's great stickiness of the agent, on the recipe. And because sometimes the agent is, when you overload them with different, steps to follow, they will. They might skip stuff, so that's why observability is so important, and what you have done is so important to evaluate that they have not skipped any important task. But the steering files will help guide the agent along this way.
Because obviously LLMs work by inputting instructions, prompts. I know there's other ways. So for instance, I guess an example of controlling the output is a JSON node or something like that, which works really well actually. So I'm curious because a lot of these tools are just extra context, basically extra text files that go in. Is a steering file doing something beyond that in some way? Do you know? Curious.
So basically, it's at the agent level, not the LLM level. So the agent will incorporate that steering file and will that's part of this context indeed. But it's going to really guide it to follow certain workflow basically. And SOPs are quite close as well. So anyway, I encourage you to have a look at it because it's really powerful and as you probably know, we are using Strange Agents to build our own agentic product like Kira, or Quick, or and others. So we are definitely using those techniques, and we are learning along the way, and we are publishing our discoveries on the Strange Agents blog. So this one was a really good one.
I mean, this is all fantastic. This is really super relevant because we're launching with these things now, and we obviously any experience we can get with building them such that they work as they expect to. I mean, I will say a lot of the tasks that we have have got their own internal validation in a sense. They're quite narrow tasks. They require certain things to match up for them to execute properly. So there is a little bit of validation by design in the tasks that we do, and we try to do them that way, such that if it succeeds, it's almost self-evident that it's correct, and if there's anything wrong, it doesn't succeed. If you see what I'm saying.
That's good. Yeah, totally good. We talked about you are using Bedrock as an inference service. You are using Strange Agents to build the workflows and the agentic system. Where do you run this? What are some of the services that you're using to run the agentic service?
Well, it's all in AWS as a starting point.
Precisely,
I mean, want to get one of our DevOps engineers to give us a full audit of all of the services we use. But I mean, all of our databases in RDS, in all of the sort of more slightly looser storage in S3, using ECS instances for compute. I mean, yeah.
Okay, so you're running the agentic service. So basically, the code that you have built with strands, you ship that as a container on ECS.
Yes, we do. Yes.
Okay. Have you looked into agent core capabilities also? Yeah,
it's something that we're interested in. What we want is a solution that scales well.
And
Because
ECS is great for that.
Yeah. So and being able to, because currently we kind of we run it in the code base. Obviously, we kind of run it there in the container that's running it. It probably makes sense to have some kind of external service so that we can manage that a bit better. I think it's been fine with single LLM calls as part of workflows. But yeah, now that we're moving to this agent space, I think it becomes more and more important.
Yeah.
And particularly graduating to that the more in-depth visibility and observability as well. We've built our own systems to some extent for that, but having a much more robust, formal, extensive system through Agent Core, like that's a real selling point for us. So yeah, I think that's definitely on our agenda.
Okay. I'm a fan of ECS because I was, I joined AWS in the container team. So I was part of the sales team for ECS and EKS. So I know how it works. It's good. ECS is a good choice. Agent Core provides the some of the primitives that are really good for agentic services. So we have the runtimes if you want to run some of the service, but you have also the memory and the policies and evaluation. So if you do evaluation, but also observability.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's good. Cool. Okay, good. So what are some of the lessons learned that you had to share with us? So to run, those systems in production now.
Yeah, I think it's sort of almost asking what's been the biggest challenges. We've touched on the engineering side, so that was probably the biggest challenge. I think from the AI engineering side, I think everyone would say this because it's obvious, but like designing for evaluation makes a hell of a lot of sense in the sense that you build a new feature, having a really good plan up front of like how you're going to evaluate it helps a massive amount. Not necessarily when you first build it, although it does help to like have offline evaluation sets and see how it's performing before going online and then monitoring it. But then it's like when you make changes, having a really quick and easy way just to check that everything works really well. So we've done that. In many cases, we've done that quite well and we've got good monitoring. In other cases, we haven't. I'll give you an example. Recently, the Sonnet 3.5 models sort of discontinued.
Yeah.
And we were kind of like, they were working really well. And we evaluated the newer models for particular tasks to do with information extraction from documents. They didn't quite perform as well. Well, although I hear that Sonnet 4.7 has got greater fidelity on images now. So I'm wondering whether that's actually going to solve some of those problems. Anyway, we sort of dragged our heels a bit with moving. And then all of a sudden we had to move very quickly to move them. And we moved over and we did evaluate it a certain amount, but not as much as we should have. We had some really good evaluation approaches set up. And we had some issues in the first few days where it was essentially failing and then customers were complaining. And we had to jump on it really quickly. And it was a very tangible lesson of like, if we'd had a really solid evaluation for this particular task, we could have run that really quickly. Could have been more confident and we maybe would have not had some of these issues. So,
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big one. Everyone would say it, but it is true. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's difficult to retrofit evaluation once you have created your system.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's another big job to do, and you want to be getting on and building the next feature. So yeah, I don't know. That's probably one lesson learned.
And also, I mean, I hear the maybe the release management of new models is difficult.
Yeah, it can be because you like in this case, a model was discontinued.
Yeah.
It was very well tested. It ran in production for a long time. And then you get a new model. There was another bit to do with that actually, because the reasoning on the newer models was they're much more ponderous. I would say they think a lot more.
Yes.
So our output tokens actually kind of exploded a bit.
Oh.
So again, yeah, like that's one of the dangers I mean, but on the other side, like the new models have new capabilities. So for this case, we were able to use extended reasoning or extended thinking, which means before, best practice chain of thought. That was one of these early techniques that worked really well. So we did that as part of the output. But now extended thinking, you could switch that on, and really nice. You can set a budget as well. So it meant that we switched that on. We fixed the issue, and what's more, we kind of brought under control like the output tokens, which are quite expensive. So, yeah.
So that makes the
opportunity and challenge. Yeah.
So that makes the whole change management much more complex because it's not just the behavior or even the techniques that you have been using, like chain of thoughts and or I was referring to steering files or skills, maybe in a
JSON mode. Yeah.
In a few versions of the LLMs, we would not need them anymore, or maybe the performance we would get will be impacted because of the fine tuning that we had. So it's and you need to retrofit as you change the models.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's worked out quite. I mean, you kind of assume that the models are going to get better, but it's interesting because in many ways they have got better.
Yeah.
But in some ways we've seen them get a little bit worse, like the handling images and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting for sure.
For sure. Yeah. It's very different from what we have been used to.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of it is, you feel like, particularly when you're writing a prompt or writing, building these inputs to go into an LLM, you feel like you're just providing a kind of general description, general set of context that should work well for any LLM. But as things change over time, the way they use those different bits of information does change. And it's very different to, when you're hand training a model by hand, you're so aware that this is all for one model, one thing that you're creating. And when you need to do it next time, you need to start from scratch again. LLMs kind of suck you into a trap of thinking that isn't the case, but it is a bit something you need to be aware of. Having that evaluation helps with that, definitely.
It raised an interesting point because a lot of our customers, they're used to really deterministic rules-based systems. And so there's like this expectation gap, and what you get with LLMs with some tasks, it's kind of a little bit different each time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets it wrong. And it can be harder to explain to them why that is. And even during evaluation, you might do an evaluation run on, 500 emails or something like that, get your metrics. But, probably you should run it multiple times to also get a sense of the variability because different ones will fail each time. So, it's also a challenge.
Have you looked into automated reasoning? No? Yet? Okay. So we had several talks at reInvent, so you should definitely go to reInvent anyway. We had different talks at reInvent last year about this new technique. So it's a branch of AI which is all about the logic. So basically using generative AI together with automated reasoning helps to improve the overall accuracy because basically you rely on the LLM to interpret some the inputs from the humans and the emails, like you said, and look at the data and then generate an answer, and then you can logically check the validity of the data of the output of the LLM with automated reasoning. So I recorded an episode, the 2 or 3 episode, with one of our experts on this, and so together generative AI and automated reasoning is called neurosymbolic AI. And we have already so we have been using it on S3 for many years. That helps us with making sure that we have we are consistent across many regions with the data. But we are also introducing automated reasoning with Bedrock with Agent Core through the Agent Core policies. So you can already leverage that and use some of the logic to test, some of the outputs of your agents. So that creates a nice feedback loop also for the agent. So
sounds great.
Yeah, it's it's something that has been around for 30 years, and now we are looking at
like neural networks.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
40 years, like, yeah, it's crazy, really.
It is,
Yeah.
and now we see how we could apply that to real use cases, and yeah, definitely encourage you to have a look at that. And Werner talks about it also in his talk. So yeah, pretty
Great.
good. Yeah, good resource. Quite difficult though, but still interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, still interesting. Okay, cool. Any closing remarks before we move to the final rounds of questions?
Not really. Nothing
No?
that comes to mind. Yeah, like what advice, or what do you mean? Like,
No, I mean about your experience, about
Yeah.
yeah.
no,
continue
I mean, it's
advice.
just a fun area, isn't it? To be honest, it's moving so quickly. Just even you in this conversation, like you brought up a couple of things we didn't know about. That can be quite difficult as well. So, like,
Yeah, it's so much
it's
happening.
changing so quickly. Yeah, not even on just the product side, right? On the development side of like coding tools and everything there. That's another massive changes that are happening so fast. So
Yeah.
I think it's fun.
What tool are you using to? I mean, are you using AI coding assistants? I guess you are.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm Cursor plus Claude Code. I'd say Cursor on there quite quickly. It's like it's just so useful. And then more recently, with Claude Code, I've just started started building some specs as well for my projects for spec-driven development. We're very interested in that. Seems like a really useful and sensible approach to take when dealing with agents that use a lot of tokens, and you don't want to repeat. You don't want to do the same thing twice.
Was Kira?
Sorry,
Have you explored Kira?
we haven't. No,
No,
we haven't.
should.
We should do. So yeah, and it's not just on the coding side, like automated actions. So like we're looking at, I'm handling tickets from customers with agents now as well. With Claude Code primarily because it's set up quite nicely to have like tasks that run from the command line. So yeah, it's a rapidly evolving, but
It is.
I'm loving it. Yeah.
And have you wired Claude Code to Bedrock?
Yeah. Yeah. Although I will say, I'm the only person in the company that's doing it at the moment, because it's a weird situation where we had the Anthropic API set up, but like I'm kind of pushing to. It's actually quite interesting for us because for us as a team, we're dealing with customer data, and there's it's nice to be able to. Well, it's not nice. It's essential for us to keep that within AWS, and our customers would not be happy with us like sending it to third parties. So from that point of view, it's like it's really helpful.
Yeah. It's not with AWS. It's within your environment on AWS.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for that. I'm not. Thank you for correcting my language. Yeah.
No worries. Just to make sure that you are not sending data to AWS. You are sending data to your environment on AWS.
Yeah.
Because you have your own instance. Okay. Cool. All right. That's exciting. Yeah. One of the things I'm really work on with many customers is this adoption of new techniques for coding assistants and also how it changes the way we build. So rethinking the SDLC basically, but that's another topic. It's really exciting. It's so many things to discuss, of course. Okay, cool. Closing questions. Would you have a book to recommend? Something that you found so interesting. It doesn't have to be about AI. It doesn't have to be about tech even. But something that there's one thing that one book that is interesting that you recommend to others.
That's one book. It's like Desert Island Discs, but much harder.
Go on. Well, as I say, less a book, but I learned so much about AI and neural networks from Fast AI. So I did the courses years ago, and I'd do each new iteration of the course. And I think, one thing that is like a lot of people don't know what's going on under the hood with these models. And I would definitely recommend doing something like Fast AI and the courses they have, because you can learn so much, and that can really help your understanding of actually what's going on under the hood with these systems. So yeah.
Fast AI?
Big plus for that. Fast AI, yeah.
Okay, wow.
Jeremy Howard is amazing speaker on these kinds.
That's cool. Thank you.
I can answer a bit more literally with a book, which I think is a bit more tangential, if maybe less relevant. But it was a while ago I read it, but called The Fifth Risk by Michael Lewis. It has various sort of political overtones to it that I won't get into, but what it was really interesting was it kind of got very deep into the lives and research of various people within sort of public service within the US. And I found it just really useful and kind of as a bit of a meta point that these people are just absolutely fascinated in what they're working in, and they get so deep into the weeds. And in that context, it was that those people are underappreciated. But it really gave me a sort of perspective of it doesn't really matter if they've got this recognition or whatever. There are these people who have this passion, love what they're doing, and make genuinely sort of world-changing contributions to areas, even though you'll never ever hear of them.
Yeah.
So it's very meta, very very philosophical, but
Cool.
+1 for any book by Michael Lewis. He's one of my favorite authors. So yeah,
fabulous writer.
yeah. I haven't even read that one yet. I need to. Yeah, unbelievable.
Good. See, that was a good question then.
Yeah.
What are you going to learn next or dive deeper on?
For me, it's literally in the last week, spec-driven development and how we can use it. So I've literally, we've got a feature that I'm building this week, and I'm building a spec around it, basically the structure and then the feature with the plan. So playing with that now and just figuring out how to use it to, speed up and improve the quality of everything we do. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. So what framework do you use?
So I went
Not Kiro then?
Yeah,
but,
no, I researched this quite a bit, and in the end decided to roll out my own version of it, just because it's a kind of, obviously I've discussed this with Claude 4.7 at length. Yeah, so reason through it. We've got a weird structure, the way we're set up with our code and our development projects. And I don't think it's too complicated, really. It's just about having good context files around the mission and the tech stack and the rules. So yeah, just doing a very sort of kind of a pared down structure and put it into place and see how it works. That's what. Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I think in particular, that's something that I'm very conscious of as well, and trying to apply that same process across a whole team. So there is a sort of a maintained high level of quality and consistency across a team. Even between teams, working on completely different parts of a project, there are certain core principles, core things that you got to have. Otherwise, you're just creating tech debt.
Yeah, totally. All right. Cool. Last question. Who should I interview next? Who should be my next guests?
From Xelix or anyone?
Someone anyone that you find interesting. That's a tough one.
Oh gosh, yeah. It's always interesting for me, what's going on with the model providers. I always feel like it's a little bit hidden, and I'm always super curious around how they work. I mean, you get a bit of insight into how they write their code, but how they work, how the model training works. I always think it's really interesting when you hear about pre-training, post-training, the reinforcement. That stuff is all super interesting to me. And sometimes I feel like I don't know enough because it's all happened so quickly. I'd love to know what's going on under the hood, but maybe they keep that all a bit quiet. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. I feel they end up just being such black boxes if you don't think about it. So trying to get that more of an insight, and I guess particularly bridging the gap between more open source systems and closed source systems, trying to understand how, particularly as businesses, how do they manage that balance? There's a lot of public demand for open source, but sometimes that's not what they want. So yeah, I'd second that.
Perfect. Thank you, gentlemen.
Right.
So thanks for sharing everything and being here at the summit. So I hope that you enjoyed the podcast and you will subscribe to it.
Of course,
100%.
Definitely. Yeah, no, appreciate it. Thank you for having us on.
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks.
it.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.